This is the story of Sydney Taylor, an undrafted rookie guard who went unpicked in the 2026 WNBA draft and then spent 2 full seasons playing professionally in Lithuania and Poland before she ever set foot on a WNBA court. By the middle of her first season with the Chicago Sky, she'd forced her way into the starting lineup. What followed was a franchise rookie scoring record. It also meant a real place in the Rookie of the Year conversation, despite never hearing her name called on draft night, and one of the biggest shots in recent Sky history against the defending WNBA champions. This video walks through how she got there, breaks down every clutch shot she made along the way, and explains why her story is tangled up with the Chicago Sky organization that has a long, complicated history with its own best players. The road that didn't start in Chicago. Sydney. Leah Taylor was born June 21, 2001, on Long Island, New York, and grew up playing at St. Anthony's High School in South Huntington. Even there, she wasn't an overnight standout. A 2-year team captain and 2-time All-County selection who led St. Anthony's to CHSAA championships in each of her first 3 seasons, plus a state title as a freshman. By her junior year, she'd climbed to 14.9 points, 5 assists, and 3.5 rebounds a game. College took her even further from the spotlight. 4 seasons at UMass began with a freshman year, 2019, spent entirely off the bench, just 6.1 minutes a game and no starting role in sight. That changed by the time she left the program. She'd turned into one of the best shooters in the Atlantic 10, twice earning all-conference honors, and walked out leading the entire conference in made 3-pointers, tied for 7th nationally with 104 threes. April 2023 brought a transfer to Louisville, where she'd play her final season of eligibility as a graduate transfer. Head coach Jeff Walz, announcing the signing, called her a prolific sharpshooter and big game bucket getter. Her teammates gave her a nickname that stuck: Swish. At Louisville, she authored the best game of her college career: 31 points on 10 for 16 shooting, 7 for 12 from 3, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, and 4 steals. A performance in which both the point total and the made threes stood as the most by any Louisville player that season. Her college career ended in 2024, and what followed was silence. No draft call, no headline, nothing. Instead, she went overseas, first to Lithuania with Kaibergstas Vilnius, then to Poland for the 2025 to 2026 season with MB Zagłębie Sosnowiec, where she earned MVP honors while averaging 22.8 points and 3.7 rebounds a game. She was good enough to be the best player in an entire European league, and she still hadn't been drafted by a WNBA team. A training camp contract and a long shot. Sydney Taylor signed a training camp contract with the Chicago Sky in April 2026. Not a draft pick, not a guaranteed roster spot, just a chance to compete for one. Her final preseason tune-up came against the Atlanta Dream, and she led the team in scoring with 24 points. Enough to lock down a spot on the Sky's opening day roster. Even then, a starting job wasn't part of the deal. She opened the 2026 regular season coming off the bench, averaging 10.7 points a game in a reserve role. And the opportunity that changed everything had nothing to do with anything she'd done herself. Teammate Rakea Jackson tore her ACL and was lost for the season, leaving a hole in Chicago's lineup for a player who could create her own shot. Taylor was about to prove she was that player. The breakout. June 11, 2026 brought an overtime loss to the Indiana Fever, and off the bench, Sydney Taylor dropped 30 points anyway, the kind of performance that's impossible to ignore. 6 days later, on June 17th, she got her first career start. The first clutch shot and the heartbreak that followed. Her first start came against the New York Liberty, the game that turned Sydney Taylor from an interesting rookie into a story people were actually following. Late in the 4th quarter, with everything on the line, she drained a 3-pointer that put Chicago ahead with 15.6 seconds left. Call it clutch shot. Clutch shot number 1, a go-ahead 3 in her first career start, with her whole opportunity riding on it. None of it held, because Sabrina Ionescu answered right back for New York, putting the Liberty ahead again within seconds. Chicago got one more look, a potential game winner at the buzzer that went to Taylor again, and it came up just short, leaving the final score at New York 96, Chicago 95. What happened next is part of why this story matters. Taylor's teammates had to help her off the floor, where she sat in tears, And Sky minority owner Dwyane Wade, sitting courtside, came over to console her. Asked about it afterward, she didn't reach for excuses. Her whole answer just 2 words: tough feeling. She'd finished the night with 24 points on 4 for 7 shooting from 3. A loss in her first start, with a make and a miss that would go on to define her season's emotional arc. The record-breaking night. 9 days later, on June 26, 2026, Sydney Taylor turned in the best statistical game of her rookie season against the Portland Fire. In just 23 minutes, she put up 29 points, shooting 72.7% from the field, 85.7% from 3, and a perfect 100% from the free throw line, numbers no rookie in the WNBA's 30-year history had ever managed in under 25 minutes of play. Her plus-minus that night reached plus 34, a mark only 12 rookies in league history have ever touched, a list that includes names like Sue Bird and Tina Thompson. Chicago's team performance matched hers. 38 assists, a new WNBA single-game record alongside a franchise record of 124 total points, and a tied franchise record of 15 made three-pointers. Through those first 16 games, Taylor had piled up 199 points, the 4th most of any rookie in the entire 2026 season, and the most by any first-year player who'd appeared in only that many games. It stood as the 2nd most points ever scored by an undrafted rookie at the start of a WNBA season. By the middle of July, she'd crossed the 300-point mark for her rookie season, a milestone she brushed off when asked about it. Just another number, in her words. A franchise record and a scream that didn't matter. July 22, 2026 brought a 31-point outburst from Sydney Taylor against the New York Liberty, a new Chicago Sky franchise record for a rookie that broke a tie she'd shared with Diamond DeShields and Elena Delle Donne for most 25-point games by a Sky rookie. Once again, though, it came in a loss, Chicago falling 95-94. One detail from that game is worth knowing, because it shows how locked in she already was, even on defense. In the final seconds, Taylor could be heard shouting for her team not to foul. A teammate fouled anyway, Azura Stevens, on a drive by Ionescu, and it turned into a game-tying three-point play for New York. Taylor's franchise record night, in the most literal sense, wasn't enough to win the game. A pattern had emerged by this point. Sydney Taylor kept delivering historic, statement-making performances, and the Chicago Sky kept finding ways to lose those games anyway, usually by a single possession. The game winner. That pattern broke on August 1st, 2026 at Wintrust Arena against the defending WNBA champions, the Las Vegas Aces. Chicago trailed by as many as 13 points in the 3rd quarter, and still by 10 with about 7.5 minutes left to play before clawing all the way back. With 2 minutes and 25 seconds remaining, a basket from Elizabeth Williams gave the Sky a 79-78 lead, their first lead of the entire game since it had been 11-9 back in the 1st quarter. Tied at 81 in the final seconds, coach Tyler Marsh called an isolation play, putting the ball in Taylor's hands one-on-one against Aces guard Jackie Young. She beat her defender clean, but the floater rimmed out with 7.6 seconds left. And on the other end, 4-time MVP Aja Wilson answered with a go-ahead drive that put Las Vegas up 83-81 with 3.2 seconds on the clock. Out of the timeout, Marsh called the same number again, no hesitation, same player, one more chance, and Chicago ran the inbounds play straight to Taylor. She curled off a screen, caught the pass from Natasha Cloud well beyond the arc, drifted left, and rose up for a contested three-pointer from 24 feet, right in front of Chicago's own bench. It went in, with 0.9 seconds still showing on the clock, and the final score read Chicago 84, Las Vegas 83. Call it clutch shot number 2, the one that made her a household name in Chicago. She closed the game with 29 points on 11 for 27 shooting, including 5 for 11 from 3, to go with 2 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal, and a block in 30 minutes, and her 27 shot attempts marked a season high. The numbers behind that shot are worth sitting with. It made her the first rookie in Chicago Sky franchise history to hit a go-ahead three-pointer in the final 5 seconds of the fourth quarter or overtime, and her fifth 25-point game of the season, more than every other undrafted rookie in the entire history of the WNBA had combined for before her. The shot also snapped a 7-game Sky losing streak, specifically against the Aces, and it marked the first win for first-year Chicago head coach Tyler Marsh against the very organization he used to coach for. There's a small, human detail from right after the shot that's easy to miss. Natasha Cloud was celebrating so hard, she nearly forgot there was still 0.9 seconds left on the clock, and Taylor had to pull herself out of the celebration to get back on defense for Las Vegas's final inbounds attempt. Even after the final horn, the Wintrust Arena crowd refused to leave, staying in their seats and chanting her name until arena staff finally asked everyone to head home. Asked about the moment afterward, Taylor said it simply, "It's been a really long journey." Where she stands. By early August, Sydney Taylor was averaging somewhere between 14 and 15 points a game for the season, though as a starter specifically, her numbers climbed to 18.4 points across 16 games in the starting lineup and 21.3 points a game over her 6 most recent outings. 9 straight games of double-figure scoring backed that up. Among rookies league-wide, only 5 players were averaging at least 12 points a game on 45% shooting or better, and Taylor was the only one of the 5 who went undrafted, the other 4 all first-round picks. She also ranked among just 4 rookies in the entire league, with at least 27 made three-pointers through late June, trailing only players who, unlike her, had actually been selected in the draft's first round. That naturally raises the Rookie of the Year question, and it's worth being straight about where that race actually stands. Minnesota Lynx guard Olivia Miles, the number 2 overall pick in the 2026 draft, is the clear, near-unanimous favorite, leading all rookies in both scoring and assists while playing for one of the league's best teams. Analysts covering the race have been direct about it. Olivia Miles is the only reason Sydney Taylor can't make WNBA history, since no undrafted player has ever been named League Rookie of the Year. Taylor is in the conversation for second place in that voting, a genuinely remarkable outcome for a player nobody picked. But this isn't a story about winning an award. It's a story about how far an undrafted player forced her way into that conversation in the first place. The playoff push. None of this is happening in a vacuum removed from the standings. Since June 24, right around when Taylor moved into the starting lineup, the Chicago Sky have gone 6-6, and that record undersells just how competitive the stretch has actually been. 5 of those 6 losses came against the Las Vegas Aces, Dallas Wings, Atlanta Dream, and New York Liberty, 4 teams that all currently hold playoff positions, decided by a combined average of just 4.8 points. Against teams also fighting for a playoff spot, Chicago has gone 8-5 in that same window, and a handful of their remaining games sit against teams well out of playoff position, including 2 against the league's worst team, the Seattle Storm. None of it guarantees anything, but what it means is that Taylor's breakout isn't just a personal story, it's happening at exactly the moment the Sky are making their real push for the postseason. The question this story can't answer yet. Here's the part of Sydney Taylor's rookie season that has nothing to do with Sydney Taylor. The Chicago Sky have a documented pattern of losing or alienating the players who make them worth watching. Sylvia Fowles, drafted number 2 in 2008, eventually requested a trade over organizational concerns and went on to win a championship and finals MVP with the Minnesota Lynx in 2015. Elena Delle Donne, drafted number 2 in 2013, also eventually left the franchise. More recently, Angel Reese, the team's leading scorer and rebounder in 2025, was traded to Atlanta in the offseason before Taylor's rookie year even began, and guard Marina Mabrey has been named by reporters covering the team as part of that same pattern of players who left the organization on uneasy terms. That pattern didn't stop with Taylor's arrival. In July 2026, veteran guard Skylar Diggins was benched in favor of a returning Courtney Vandersloot and Taylor's own emergence. And she made her frustration public on her own Instagram story, writing, "Now I'm coming off the bench." One more data point in a narrative WNBA analysts have been tracking for years. One veteran on the roster, Courtney Williams, has gone as far as publicly describing the organization as a poverty franchise in how it treats its players. None of that is a knock on what Taylor has done. If anything, it raises the stakes. At the time of this video, the Chicago Sky sit at 11-18, still fighting for playoff position, 6 wins and 6 losses since late June, with several of those losses decided by less than 5 points combined. They're a franchise still trying to climb back from a 10-34 season in 2025, still measuring itself against a 2021 championship that feels further away every year another star player walks out the door. Conclusion: Sydney Taylor went unpicked in the 2026 WNBA draft, then spent the 2 years after college playing professional basketball in Lithuania and Poland, earning a league MVP award that nobody back home was watching. She signed a training camp contract with no guarantee attached to it, and within her first WNBA season, she'd set a Chicago Sky rookie scoring record, delivered one of the most statistically unprecedented shooting performances a rookie has ever put on tape, and hit a go-ahead three-pointer with under a second left to beat the defending WNBA champions, the first rookie in franchise history to do it in that exact situation. That's the story of an undrafted rookie who kept getting picked last and kept delivering anyway. A bench player in college who became a conference-leading shooter, an unsigned free agent who became a franchise record holder, a training camp invite who's now central to a playoff push. What isn't decided yet is whether the Chicago Sky, an organization with a long documented history of losing the players who make them worth watching, will be the team that finally gets to keep her.